Brooklyn Independent Television.
Welcome to Neighborhood Beat, your passport to Brooklyn. I'm your host, Keisha Alan, and on this Browsing Dumbo episode, we explore even more of what this vibrant community has to offer. We visit Susan Woods, who applies an experimental approach to functional art, stop by the ever-edgy Galapagos Art Space, hop aboard Barge Music and meet visionary founder Olga Bloom, and finally, swing by Young Soon Kim's White Wave Dance Company. Stay tuned. Dumbo has become one of New York City's premier art districts with a cluster of for-profit galleries and such non-for-profit institutions as the Dumbo Art Center, the Brooklyn Arts Council, and St. Ann's Warehouse. Acclaimed artist Susan Woods designs everything from sculpture wooden chairs to tapestry-like wall treatments made from bed springs. Here at her Swoon studio, she sells all of that and trendy vintage fashions.
My name is Susan Woods, and we're in my storefront on 14 J Street called A Swoon, down near the water. A swoon is a scramble of my name, and it means a faintful delight. So I wanted to have like a really lovely feminine name along with Susan Woods Studio, which is the fabrication of it. I think that the work itself is a mix between art and design, and it is some people call me an artist, some people call me a designer. I come from the fine art world and the sculptural world. I'm academically trained. Though they may be a seat or a table, it's sculpturally inspired, and they are pieces of sculpture. I think also they're very feminine. I've always worked with found materials. I have changed my perspective quite a few times. I started as a painter, and then I would go through sculpture, and then I went into bronze casting, and then I went into working with wood, and then large paintings, and then just found materials. And I think moving to New York, I had to find a job in which I fabricated for designers, and therefore my materials changed. I discovered plywood. I dropped out of the fine art world because I was no longer making things with the same materials. It's a repurposed material, I would suggest. The springs are all upholstery springs. When you get them from old beds, but pillows, they have different sizes and gauges of metal. With my background, I try to make things beautiful. And when I see something that interests me or is beautiful in itself, then I want to make something out of it. Originally, I grew up in New Hampshire. I had been in New York for a few years going to school, and I left. My husband's from Germany, and we moved here in 1995 because you could find a loft and it was cheap. And then I had a studio here also. We were one of the people gentrified in a pretty awful way where they would throw the whole building out, and it wasn't funny. But the growth of the neighborhood at the same time, when I started this, I realized that I needed to have a place that was clean, where people could actually look at the work rather than in the studio, as well as the Brooklyn Navy Yard is not very accessible. I've seen it grow in a very positive way. There's a lot of beautiful shops here. I've met a lot of friends just being on this corner. The corner is pretty visible. It's just a really lovely community. I love this area. We don't have all of the artists they used to have. I mean, the lofts were filled with artists and different types of people, but you have a lot of interesting, creative people around, and not necessarily just painters or sculptors. There's a lot of graphics and offices that are very, very creative. It was open by appointment only, and now I've decided to keep the store open as much as possible. It's only 3 or 4 days a week. People really respond to the work, and all kinds of people. They all really respond in their own way to the work, and I don't know if I've ever had such a wide audience, and I like that. I think it works very well somehow. I don't know exactly why, but it does. Cheryl came, and this is her first opportunity to have a storefront. And I think also that because I want to integrate my work into her displaying her pieces, and so we're working together. I'm building all of the fixtures so that it's an integrated spot, and I think it brings different people in, and people are buying her pieces. I'm very excited about it. I would like to make new work, and I think the experience of having the storefront is going to broaden my outlook on maybe what kind of work I'm going to be making in the future. So this particular chair is called the Cucina chair. It is a sister piece to this chair, which is called the Bai chair. The challenge was to take the same radius of wood and to make a seating that was unlike something people would think they could sit on. The base is all hand-wrought iron, and this is called the Ray Wave. And this is an older piece that is a seat, as well as you can lie down in it. This is called a spring screen. All of the metalwork that I do, most of it is made from upholstery springs. This particular style of spring screen I have been commissioned to do many, many times. This was inspired to have a divider, something that was dividing a space, but at the same time one could see through it, and has a graphic, kind of playful reason of being. It's pretty labor intensive, but I find the work playful, and I enjoy it. This light is called the Light Totem, and again it's made of upholstery springs. This light is actually, you're able to take it apart. So the bottom is fixed and everything is suspended. Thank you very much for coming to 14 J Street. We will be happy to see you at a swoon.
Transplanted from Williamsburg, Galapagos Art Space is an amazing manifestation of art and serves as a bar, a gallery, and a multidisciplinary performance space.
Galapagos is a self-funded performance space. We don't take government grants or private money of any kind to operate our venue. And we believe that if we do strong, communicative, and effective work, people will come and support the venue. Galapagos began in December of 1995. We opened officially in June of '98, and we were in Williamsburg until last year, and we opened up here in August. Williamsburg became too expensive for us to continue the programming mission. We produce theater, dance, performance art, cinema, music. But for us, our natural funding mechanisms are bar, for example, and our tickets. So when there's a good combination of ticket sales and bar, we survive well. Our job as a venue is to take artists from the emerge to the mid-career level. You know, we're an incubative space, and our place in the cultural ecosystem is really to grow new work and to find new work and grow it. At this stage in an artist's career, the emerge to mid-career level, there's a lot of experimentation. Our venue reflects that in the programming profile. I'm from Canada. I began as a sculptor, and I opened Galapagos thinking that I would have lots of time to sculpt. The venue, you know, like any small business really, demands quite a bit. And then to find a new location and to build this project, you know, it's certainly more than a full-time job. We've started a program called AIR, Artist in Residence / Switzerland, where we have a resident artist from Switzerland come to New York City. And now in turn we've sent artists to Switzerland. You know, it really defines the venue. It allows us to understand the work that we're presenting in a more intimate way. So every month that the artist is producing work, or every quarter be it, we're able to understand the work better and produce it better. In addition, we work with an artist, Katja Loher, who does beautiful video art. She's actually creating planets and moons that orbit the planets and project video onto the planets, which themselves are based out of weather balloons.
Once I entered in art school in Geneva, I started really quick to go into video installation. I just kind of didn't have the technique before. Once I had the full possibilities of choice, I would really reach into video. Once I had the first time a video camera in my hand, I was not able to make photography anymore because I was always trying to find movement. When I started to record motion, that was my thing, and I never had to think about if it was the right thing to do. Somehow it was just the way that I could translate my ideas the best. I didn't want it to make movies and just project on like a 3 to 4 screen or just use a TV. I was fascinated by combining sculpture with video and then either celebrate the technique as I do it in this work where a video projector becomes a sun, or then make the technique disappearing, which is in other sculptures. I started to work with weather balloons, and the first idea was just really, to project on round, and then it became more and more planets because I started to make choreographies out of the bird's view, and I was having this idea to show planet Earth from an outside view and choreograph the humans as little tiny parts of a bigger image. So I started to make video planets, and as a next step I wanted to have them rotating in a solar system. It's actually the first prototype that has only 1 sun and 2 planets, but the project will have 5 planets rotating. I'm inspired by this little model of a solar system. In English it's called Orrery, and in German we call it Tellurium. So it's basically a mechanical model of the solar system. And though I'm not making our solar system with Earth, Mars, and I'm creating our own solar system. The videos that I project on those planets, it's bird's views of big groups of dancers that perform choreographies. And there's different parts of it, but the main thing that I keep repeating is that I write alphabets with human beings, and then after I combine it to words and to questions. And those questions are written by human beings and they are projected on the balloon. All my videos are choreographed, and it's always the live aspect of the choreography that build up the video itself. Since I arrived to Galapagos, actually, it's always been my house here in a way. I'm a resident artist since that, so it's really wonderful to me to show here. I think it's so wonderful because it crosses borders of the different arts and medias, and it becomes a meeting point for all the different artists, dancers, actors, visual artists. I've always liked to combine all these things, not just to stay in one world.
There's Punch Puppetry, which is a beautiful show of avant-garde puppetry. There's Slutty Puppets, Oops, I Said It, which is what you could imagine. We have Nerd Night, which is funny science lectures. Beyond that, there's theater, there's dance, cinema. There's lots of programs and lots of partnered programs that we create and participate in, and we really rely on the resident programs to define the venue to the public. And that's our best foot forward. That's us singing for our supper.
As you can see, Dumbo is a fascinating community with much to discover and explore. But don't take my word for it, come see for yourself. You can take the F train to York Street or the A and C trains to High Street Brooklyn Bridge. By bus, you can take the B, 25, 67, 69, or 75 buses, or the New York Water Taxi, which runs a ferry to Fulton Landing. Formed in 1976 by violinist Olga Bloom, Barge Music is a floating barge at the foot of the Brooklyn Bridge that features classical musicians performing against this incredibly scenic backdrop.
This is a unique venue, the only floating concert hall that I know of that gave, like last year, 230 performances. So it's 52 weeks a year, there's never a break, and we present ourselves, and we present all kind of different repertoire mostly chamber music. Great works by the great masters from Haydn, Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, to great contemporary composers of today.
You know when somebody's never been to the barge before and they walk on and at first they're surprised that it's moving. And then they notice all the beautiful wood and the atmosphere, and I think they notice right away that it's a very intimate and comfortable place. And they're just kind of taken in love right away. We hear all the time how special the barge is and how New York is so lucky to have it, and how people just really support the idea of providing a space where classical music is as approachable and intimate as it is in the barge. They love it.
Over 30 years ago, we have a great founder of this place, who is Olga Bloom. She found this place, she brought this place here. She created beautiful acoustic by putting these beautiful cherry trees right here, you see, on the walls of the barge. She started those concerts herself. She played both violin and viola. And so she started, I believe, the first concert. She just opened the doors, and here she was playing the music. And she told me there about 20 or 30 people gathered here. It was a very different type of waterfront at that time when she arrived.
I was born in 1919, and my parents, who loved music, took me for my first violin lesson when I was 4 years old. And that dear, dear teacher, he was an Austrian by birth, and he played in the Boston Symphony. And I guess he liked me when I came into his studio, which was totally foreign to my experience in life. We were very poor, yet my parents mustered up $3 a half hour for a lesson for me until they no longer could. And in 1929, when the Great Depression started, they could no longer pay for my lessons. And Jacques Hoffman, my teacher, gave me lessons for the next decade on the house. And he saw to it that I went to Tanglewood, that I went to Boston University, where he was also teaching. I've been very lucky. It's beyond noble. It's unique happiness to be with a small group of people playing music together, as any musician will tell you.
Many people came who, assisted her as well, and that's where we are right now. I started my first performance of the barge music was probably in the early 80s. At mid-90s, I started to present some of the concerts at the barge music, and until about 6.5 years ago, she chose me to continue this whole, as she called me, her heir, I guess. So she always looked to make sure that barge music continues and has great longevity, and I think it's all part of that.
I had my first experience with a string quartet with a teacher I had in the 7th grade. She heard me play a solo, and she said, "We're going to have a quartet." I didn't even know what she was talking about, but there we were assembled, 4 of us in the 7th grade, and we started to, I was enchanted. I heard the sounds around me, and I thought, heaven.
Olga is probably one of the most interesting people that I've met. She's very strong, and she's just an incredibly creative and imaginative person. I think that you have to be to create something like the barge. She's so devoted and so committed to it, and because of that, it's become what it is. Anybody that gets to meet her or comes through and sees that she's there, they say, "Oh, is that Olga Bloom?" They want to say hi because she's always putting aside time to say hello to everybody. She really has connected with a lot of our audience, and they feed off of it.
We have all been aware of the disappearance of music, live music. I've been terribly concerned. It's a noble art form, and I couldn't give up something I'd been trying to do since I was 4 years old. I bet my life that we could make it go if we presented it in a proper fashion. And this is what I call proper. that we're available to the community at large the entire year. We're part of the society. I figured if royalty could have musicians in residence, so can all the rest of us.
It's a totally unique situation because we are like part of the nature. We are part of the parklands, you know. We are on the water, and the music, it creates also a unique atmosphere in which to experience music, you see.
We all recognize the beauty of a body of water, and motion, sound, and you know automatically that the person sitting next to you can't be bad if they like Tchaikovsky.
People come to our concerts from all over the world. We want to make sure that the music becomes a necessity other than just a luxury. It's like you have a store where you can buy a food, you know. This is also great food. It's a spiritual food, you know, and just as important, we believe. And that's one of the mission of the Baroque music is to bring music every day to everyday people.
Young Soon Kim founded the White Wave Dance Company in 1988 to inspire audiences with the multi-dimensional aspects of dance. We recently caught their Cool New York Dance Festival here at the John Ryan Theater, and let me tell you, Cool Festival, hot.
I started dancing since my mother's womb. My mother was a dancer, and she wanted to pursue as a professional dancer, but she couldn't. And so I carry my mother's dream. Actually, I started dancing when I was 6 in Gwangju, Korea, my hometown. I studied Korean traditional dance first, and then moved on to ballet and contemporary dance when I was in college. First time when I saw it, I just loved it. This was total raw factory. It's 30 years of the white painting over and over, dead pipes hanging, nothing was here. It was very hard negotiation, but we got 10-year lease, and I started to renovate. It took 1 year, and it costed about in the beginning to about $200,000, and I died a couple of times. During the renovation time, Dumbo Art and the Bridge Festival was happening. I think it was Washington Street, some of the open garage. It was no seats, no stage, nothing. Those are 3 days of the festival, and was so many people coming down to Dumbo, and I thought if I create a program interesting enough, it will be working. In that time, the director of the Dumbo Art Center invited me to be in charge of the dance section. So while renovation is going on, I prepared for the whole entire first year of the Dumbo Dance Festival. We presented about 85 companies here first year. We didn't have the lights or the curtain or the chairs, nothing. It was a total bare, and that was how we started. But instant success.
The 3 festivals are the Dumbo Dance Festival, the Wave Rising Series, and the Cool New York 2009 Dance Festival. The Dumbo Dance Festival takes place over 3 days, and it involves 80 artists and choreographers, and it's more for an emerging type artist. Whereas the Wave Rising Series, it allows for a longer period. It's 3 weeks. Every artist gets 30 minutes of performance time as well as 2 hours of tech. The Cool New York is by invitation only from previous artists that we've had at the theater.
The festival run by White Wave is a really great experience for many emerging and established artists. They get over 60 companies throughout 2 weeks to perform small pieces during their whole festival. I was introduced to them growing up in Brooklyn and seeing some of their work. Really like the idea of artists coming together and really collaborating with each other and working with each other. And so I've now participated in 3 of their festivals over the last 3 years, so I keep coming back. It's a really nice experience. Coming here is a new experience in dance. You won't just see ballet, or you won't just see specific kinds of modern movement. You're going to see dances from many different backgrounds, many different levels. You're going to see technique, you're going to see African movement, you're going to hear different types of music and really see a lot of different body types and see how different body types can move throughout the space, which is really nice because you tend to not really get that diversity in other venues.
As you can see, it's not enough dance venue. So especially young choreographers, they don't have a place to present their work. We started Dumbo Dance Festival 2001, and then next festival we did actually Cool New York. We started 2004. 2001 to 2003, 3 years of the Dumbo Dance Festival is like hugely successful. And I love this space. This space has an incredible energy. Audience love to see dance here, and performers love to dance here, you know. So it's continuously growing. My fulfillment comes from when I watch these young artists, all the known companies perform here, and every year some of the artists, like probably more than half of artists return, you know, for the year after year, and their work is developing like completely, you know, each year. That is my joy. It is very hard to present this 3 humongous festival with many times without enough funding, you know. But I think I am doing it because of those fulfillment. And if I can help, you know, those young choreographers to make it to the next move, I think it is very worth it to do it.
I hope you enjoyed this incredible episode of Neighborhood Beat Dumbo. I know I sure did. I'm your host, Keisha Alan, and for more information on the Neighborhood Beat series and to view past shows online, you can check us out on the web at brickonline.org/BCAT. And remember, no matter where you are, let Brooklyn be your destination point. I'll see you next time.
Brooklyn Independent Television on the BCAT TV network.